A very warm greetings to everyone. I welcome all my young learners and English language enthusiasts to this live session. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Disha Vidyarthi, Assistant Professor of English Language and Professional Communication at IIMT College of Science and Technology in Greater Noida. The topic of today's live session and this lecture is Phonology of English Language, comprehending fundamental concepts. So let us now begin this session with the basic understanding of the phonetics and phonology of English language. So now, before moving ahead in this session, I would like to give a brief gist and the holistic view to all my students out there and the learners. What will be the basic elements of this basic level module of phonetics and phonology? If we can see over here, the first point which we'll be understanding through this session is the basic definition of what is phonology and phonetics. And then next point will be the relevance of studying English language phonology. So the basic question or the first question which strikes in mind or my students often ask that, ma'am, what is the relevance and significance of studying the certain phonology or the system, sound system of the particular language, especially when we talk about English language, how it can improve our proficiency in English, how it can be a tool to enhance our communication skills or the correct pronunciation. So these things we'll be dealing in this basic module of the phonology. Then next, if you can see what will be the types of phonetics for a better understanding that how and this system of sound works. So we need to understand the types of phonetics also. Then another point which we will be covering in this session will be speech organs, production and articulation. So when we start understanding the sound system, which is basically the phonology of a certain language, and here we are talking about English language. So we need to understand the correct pronunciation will only be possible when you know how to pronounce that particular sound and how it is pronounced with which speech organ, how it is articulated. If you're articulating that sound in a wrong manner or incorrectly, then definitely your pronunciation and by default your spellings will be wrong. Then the next segment will be sounds in English language. As when we start studying the English language, we start with the alphabets and letter. In the same way, in the sound system also, we'll be having sounds, different symbols, as we used to have letters or alphabets in the sound system of English. Also, we'll be having certain symbols, phonetic symbols. Then consonant and vowel sounds. So as we study alphabets in the form of consonant letters and the vowel letters, in the same way in the sound system also we'll be studying the bifurcation of consonant sounds and vowel sounds. Then the next point which we'll be covering will be phonemes and allophones. So when we will move forward in this session, you will understand these points gradually and eventually. And the last basic understanding of the phonetic transcription. So let us now begin after this gist of the session. So if you can see, phonetics. So what is phonetics? If you can see over here, the phonetics from the Greek word phone. So it has been derived from the Greek word phone. It is the branch of linguistics. Linguistic means related to language that deals with the physical production and reception of sound. We call these distinct sound phones. So if you try to understand, I'll ask my learners and the students, if you try to understand that why it is phonology, it has been taken from the word phone. If you just in a very layman manner, if you want to connect a phone, how you use phone, why it is called phone, because you hear someone, you listen to someone, and it means when we talk about hearing and listening, we talk about sounds. In the same way, how the language is articulated, how those particular sounds are articulated and how they are perceived, that study comes under the phonetics. So phonetics is not concerned with the meaning of sound, but instead their production, transmission and reception. Now, on the contrary, there's another terminology, phonology, whereas phonetics is the study of sound and is concerned with the production, addition, and perception of the speech sound called phones. Phonology describes the way sounds function within a given language and operates at the level of sound system. It means what is the basic difference between phonetics and phonology? Phonetics is a broader term in which you understand the possible human speech sound in the different languages. Because it is a broader term, it has a wider range. Because we humans can speak different languages, and when we talk about different languages, we must be having different sound system. So it is a rather broader term But phonology, it is the study of the sound system within a given language. That is why in today's session, we'll be discussing the phonology of English language, because we will be studying the sound system of the given language, that is English. And then the next question which arises is that what is the relevance of studying phonology? We know that if we study grammar, we'll improve the correct formation, the semantic thing, and the grammatical rules. But what is the use or the relevance or the significance or the importance of studying the phonology? Now, if you can see, the importance of learning English phonology covers two main categories. The first category includes the importance of English phonology for EFL teachers as English language users. See, we in India or the countries which are having multilingual background. We in India, we are having multilingual background because due to cultural diversity, English is not our first language, definitely, because we are not the native speakers. But it is not just a foreign language. We study English as the second language because it is the official language and widely spoken language. So we study the formation and the system and the grammatical structure and the semantic system of the English language as the second language. So it is very, very or the highly relevant for all the speakers who want to try to enhance their spoken English and the correct pronunciation thing and the correct usage of English language. We it is like highly important to understand the sound system for the correct pronunciation, because if you can see the correct pronunciation, then correct articulation means correct pronunciation. It means it's vice versa. If you know how to produce it, you will use it correctly. And if you know how to use it correctly, definitely your grammatical structure, your pronunciation will by default improve. Let's move on to the next slide. Yes, if you can see now the types of phonetics. There are three types of phonetics. First is articulatory phonetics. Then second is acoustic phonetics. And then third is auditory phonetics. Now let us see in brief manner what are these types of phonetics. The first one is articulatory. As the name itself suggests, it is related to articulation, how you pronounce that sound. So articulatory phonetics is basically the study of how speech sounds are made, how they are articulated, how you produce them by using your speech organs. The next is acoustic phonetics, the study of the physical properties of speech as sound wave. It means how these sounds are transmitted from the speaker to the receiver. Because when a speaker speaks and the listener attain those sounds, there's a transmission, how they are produced and then how they are transmitted. So that category comes under the acoustic phonetics. The next is auditory phonetics, the study of the perception of the speech sound. It means how you hear them, how you listen to them, how you perceive them. Sometimes what happens, being a non-native speaker of the English language, we know the alphabets, we know the grammatical structure, but then too, we commit a lot of mistakes, a lot of error are there. Why? Because we are not used to since the beginning. Like for Hindi or any regional language in India, we are it's very natural. It very naturally we learn those things. Why? Because since our childhood, we have been receiving those sounds. If you take the example of a kid speaking Hindi, he or she doesn't need to be studying first. First, they hear from their parents, from their siblings, from the elders at home, from the surroundings. So first they hear the sound and then they start grasping the sound, and then they are taught to write those symbols. If you talk about Hindi, first they receive the sound like ooh, these kinds of speech sounds which they naturally by default they articulate, and then later on in the later stages they are taught how to write or how to articulate perfectly those sounds. So that comes afterwards. But in English, because it is not our we are not the native speakers, it is not our first language or the mother tongue, it is a little difficult for us. So that is where the phonology comes. When we understand the sound system in a better manner, it is easier for us to understand the whole system of English language, be it British English or American English. What is the difference? Because in both British and American English, the basic difference lies in the pronunciation. And when the pronunciation is different, it means we are using the different spellings. And when we talk about different spellings, it means there are different sounds, there are different symbols. Now let's move on to the next segment. Now, when we talk about the perfect sound system or to understand the sound system of English language, we talk about articulation. It means how those correct and the proper or the appropriate sounds are produced. And when we talk about the production and the articulation, we need to understand the speech organs, how they work, because if we do not know what are the different kinds of the speech organs, we won't be able to use them while producing those sounds. In speech therapy or the spoken English, when we if you I think my most of the students must be knowing, if they have undergone any kind of module of English language or the spoken English, there are a lot of audios they are asked to hear it out, to listen to them, and then to articulate them or to mimic them. Why? Because when you perceive the correct sound, you are able to articulate it. But for that correct articulation, you must be knowing that what is the correct speech organ, because without using the correct speech organ, you cannot produce the correct sound. So let us see what are those speech organs. First is lips. We use in this oral speech organs. First one is lips, then we use teeth, alveolar ridge, tongue, larynx, vocal cords, epiglottis, pharynx, soft palate, uvula, hard palate. If you can see in the diagram, starting from your lips to the oral cavity of your mouth, that teeth, that tongue, alveolar ridge, pharynx, your vocal cord, it means all these organs. It means there are a lot of organs, there are a lot of spaces, there are a lot of stages from where you produce the correct sound. Let's move on to the next segment after the understanding of the speech organs. Now see, now we have come to the portion where we'll be understanding how many sounds are there under the phonology in the sound system. As I, in my previous pointers in this session, I asked that, or rather told that when we start the study of English language, the basic what we start, like in mathematics, we start from the digits. In the same way, when we talk about any language, the basic is the letters. So in English language also, we have, all of us have studied, we have started English from where? From learning or knowing the alphabets and the letters, because those symbols, those letters enable us to understand what is this language all about. Then from those letters we form the words, and then from the correct formation of those words we form those we adjoin them and make sentences using the grammatical rules. Now because we are studying the sound system, if you can see in the flow chart, there are 26 letters in English language, but if we bifurcate them in the sound, then if you can see, there are 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds. So the bifurcation tells us that those 26 letters, when we divide them into the sound system under the phonology, we are having how many numbers of vowel sounds? 20. And if we talk about in English language, generally how many vowels we have studied? 5 vowels. But when we convert those letters and try to understand a better pronunciation method through the sound system, they are bifurcated into 44 sounds and further dividing them into 20 vowel sound and 24 consonant sound. Let's move further in the flow chart. In the vowel sound, there are 12 monophthongs and 8 diphthongs. These terms we will be discussing in the later slides of this session. And then those monophthongs and diphthongs are further divided into short vowel, that monophthongs, and long vowels. On the other hand, consonants are further divided into voiceless and voiced. It means 9 voiceless consonant sounds are there and 15 voiced consonant sounds are there. In the further slide, we'll be having discussion regarding this, what are the voiceless and voiced consonants, or what are the monophthongs, diphthongs, what are the short vowels or the long vowels. Let's move further. Now, if you can see in the chart, these are the symbols. As I said that when we start, or any kid start learning any language, and when we talk about English language, they start with the alphabets, and they are made to write that this is A, this is B, how you write C, this is capital C, this is small c. In the same way, when we start sound system, here also we start with the basic thing, and the basic thing of understanding the phonology of English is studying those symbols of that particular sound. So in the same way, like alphabets have a particular figure or the symbol, in the same way the sound system of this language also has the particular symbol. If you can see in the chart, under the consonant sounds, per sound as in past. And one more difference I want to make it clear: when we study the letters, we name them like A, B, C, D. But in sound system, we do not say P, B, D. What do we say? Or we say the name of the sound. Like if you can see over here, as it is written over here. As in past, we will not say p, we will say pa. Like in boy, there's a b sound. In test, there is t sound. We are not saying that in test there is t, because that will be study of the letters and alphabets. But because we are studying the sound system, so we have to keep our focus and attention on the particular sound, and those particular sounds are written under the slash marking, as it is very much visible on the screen, you can see. And there are different symbols also, like if you can see, there's written chest. So in English, when we have to produce the ch sound in writing, what do? We make a combination of two consonants. Rather, we used to say consonant cluster, that is CH. So we produce this ch sound. In sound system, we have a particular symbol over here. If you can see, the arrow over here, it is like a small t and F. So these are the symbols which we need to learn. Here also, if you can see, for the th or the sound, we use th, like thick and this. So same consonant cluster produce the th and the sound, but in the phonology, if you can see, the symbol over here is like this and like this. So the tip which I want to give to my student, that before moving forward or moving ahead with the deep knowledge of phonetics and phonology, you need to learn the symbols of that language which you are acquiring. Because here we are talking about the English language. So before moving to the transcription or the articulation, you need to learn and revise these symbols. So these are the consonant sounds. In the lower side, if you can see, long vowels and short vowels. So after consonant sounds, we are having vowel sounds, and those vowel sounds are bifurcated into long and short vowels, and then further into diphthongs. First, we will start with the long vowels. As you can see over here, long vowels. If you can see, all the long vowels over here are written into the slash, but with a colon sign. So this is one of the symbol you can adjoin with this understanding, that all the long vowels have the colon sign. If you can see the E sound in the sheep, it is elongated. It means it is a larger E. Like in Hindi, we say E, E. In the same way, in long vowels of the sound system, we are having colons with the those phonemes and the sounds symbols, like U, like Okay, now see in the short vowels over here, the next ship, like the small E, it is ship, E. Then if you can see, as in hat, the A sound, the symbol is A, like this. It is adjoined like an A and E. Then U, like in foot, sock, A sound, head, E sound, above, A sound. Then if you can see, there is one more A sound as in cut. Here we have written in the spelling U, but it is producing the sound of A. So where we use U and the sound is a rather a larger A sound than the schwa, as in above. Like this is a very, very small A sound. For that very small A sound, we use schwa. This symbol is called schwa. And then for a in comparison to the schwa sound, if we are having a little larger or the elongated A sound, that will be a used or written as the triangle symbol. Then on the other hand, for the diphthong means combination of two vowel sound. Let me read out the example, and the transcription is also given over us. It will be clear to all of you. Pay. Then if you can say A, there is a combination of A and E sound. If you can see the transcription also, and if you see the symbol of the diphthong over here, number one, it is E and I, pay. It means we are having the sound, the combination of A and I sound. So we say pay. Then 5. If you see the transcription, we are having the sound, combination of I and E, I. Okay, so the basic difference between the long short vowels or the monophthongs, mono means single sound. So short and long vowels come under the category of monophthongs. It means single vowel sound, and diphthong means it means the combination of two sounds. So these are the diphthongs. I'll suggest you to practice this. In the next session, we'll be discussing the articulation in a rather deep manner. We will dive into the more details of the articulation, and then how to transcript the words. But in this module, we are just having the basic understanding of the phonology of English language. Now moving on to the next segment. Now here, after the monophthongs and diphthongs, which were the part of vowel sound. Now we are having voiceless and voice sound. As the name itself suggests, if you can focus over here, voiceless, it means there is no voice. What do you mean by voiceless? When there is no sound. So it doesn't mean the literal sense. Obviously, you have to speak it out when you're pronouncing a sound. If you just speak after me, p, t, k, f, d, th, sh. In these sounds, if you just concentrate on the articulation, you are just using your lips or the tongue. You are not activating your vocal cord. There is no vibration in the vocal cord. So certain sounds which we use with the front speech organs of your oral cavity, those are voiceless. They come under the category of voiceless because there is no certain vibration or basic or the major movement in the vocal cords. On the contrary, if you just speak per and then you speak b, there is a little vibrato or the vibration sound through the vocal cords. So certain consonant sounds, when we produce them, we have a little vibration in our vocal cords. So those kinds of consonant sounds come under the category of voice, and those kinds of vowel sounds which are not having that vibration in the process of pronouncing them or articulating them, then those come under the category of voiceless. So these are the examples written over here with the words over here, like for the per, it is peer, pick, rip, people. So there's no vibration while we are producing the pa sound or ta sound, to, tip, feet, retain. But on the contrary, if you speak the sound, do, there is a sound coming from your vocal cord. So this was voiceless and voiced consonants based on the articulation manner. Now next, we are having phonemes and allophones. This is one of the topic my student always ask that what is the difference between phonemes and allophones, because they get confused. But if we try to understand in a simpler manner, it is a very simple term. There's a very, very subtle difference, but it is easy to understand also. Let me explain it to you. What is phoneme and what are allophones? Phoneme is a unit of sound in a language that cannot be sliced further. It means phonemes are the smallest sound unit of that given language. Okay, so they cannot be further sliced or bifurcated. Like per sound is per. You cannot further bifurcate it. You will adjoining the more sounds to it to create a new word. But per sound cannot be bifurcated. The sound cannot be bifurcated. They are the individual smallest identity of that particular language. It is the most basic unit of sound. If the sound made by the letter t in English is the most basic sound unit, it is called the phoneme. Phoneme is an utterance or a sound that cannot be altered. Altered means it cannot be changed. Pa is pa, you cannot change. If you change the sound, it means you're changing the phoneme. Like A cannot be B, B cannot be C. A is A, B is B. They are having separate individual identity. And if you change the sound, you're changing the meaning, you're changing the spelling. So it is a very basic understanding and a common thing, a natural thing, that obviously a smallest sound unit is phoneme, because they cannot be sliced further, they cannot be divided further, they cannot be changed or altered further. The same phoneme can lead to different allophone. Now here comes the catch, that phonemes are the smallest sound unit and allophones are the variation of that particular sound. If you can see the diagram over here, there is t sound mentioned over here. So this is the phoneme, the smallest unit of any sound system in the English language we are studying. So this is t sound, the phoneme. Why phoneme? Because it is the one of the smallest units of the sound system. But if you can see over here, two example or two words are written over here, stop and top. If you just pay attention over here, with T here is little h, as we write the square in the mathematics, little h is written over here. So when we point this out, when we mark a H on particular phoneme or the particular sound, it means we are producing a little aspiration or the flow of the air. It means if it is written TH, then we have to say T. So it is top. So as per the articulation, as per the transcription, it is written over here top. But the catch is here that whether you pronounce it top, 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 the meaning will remain the same. The identity of the ta sound will remain same. It will be the ta sound only. What changes it marks is that only of the pronunciation. See, in American English or in British English, what is the basic difference? The major or the basic difference is only about the pronunciation. There are certain spelling different in British English, certain spelling different in American English. And when the spelling is different, it means we are using the different sounds, and we are using the different sound by default. We are pronouncing them differently. So this is only the basic difference. In the same way, so what are allophones? They are just the variation of that sound. It doesn't change the meaning. It may change the spelling or the manner of articulation. And these variation of the phonemes, which we call allophones, depends on the language background. You may belong to different country, you may belong to different culture, identity, where you use the sounds in different manner. Like if we tell you the example of cake, and someone say it cake, it means there is little aspiration in the k sound, making it a k. But you will write it cake, cake. It will not create a difference in the meaning whether you pronounce it cake or cake. So allophones are just the variation of those sounds. It doesn't change the meaning of that word. It doesn't change the, only it changes the articulation, the manner of pronouncing or producing those sounds. You can see over here also the same phoneme is written over here for the t sound. It is t with the little h over here. When the h is written upside of any phoneme, it means it is the allophone, and we have to pronounce or produce that sound with a little aspiration of the air moving through your mouth. That is with the h sound, like top. Okay, so if you go by the transcription over here, it is written top. We will just pronounce it top, but it will not create any difference in the meaning of that basic sound or the basic phoneme ta sound. Let us move on to the next slide. Now here come the practical implementation of the transcription. Here is the empirical value of studying phonology of English language. See, it can be vice versa. First, you can start either taking random words and transcripting them after learning the symbols and after learning the correct articulation of those sounds. Because until unless you have learned the correct articulation, which we will be dealing in the next session, because this is the basic module of the phonology. Here we are not including the deep or the complicated or the complex things of articulation or different kinds of figuratives, or there are a lot of terms over there, but keeping it simple for the basic understanding, what we can do and what we can do for the practical implementation. The basic thing which we can do, and we can start from just learning those symbols and try to learn how those correct sounds are produced. Now, if you can see over here, the example is written over here. If you see, as I said, that it can be vice versa. First, there's written a transcription over here of the sentence, and then the sentence itself is written over here. What country are you from? Now, suppose if somebody who is novice or who doesn't know the English language properly, it may, or he or she may, can speak it like this: what country are you from, or what country are you from? So, but if you can see, and if you have studied the phonology, if you have studied those symbols of sounds, and then you can mark it out that what is written, it is v sound written, it is a sound written, and it is ta. So if even these letters or this sentence is not written, just by looking at the transcription module or the transcription shape of the sentence, you can read it out correctly. What country? Now it is not country. If you can see the transcription over here, this little triangle sound producing the sound, country, and it is the long vowel over here, long e sound, I with an colon mark, as we have studied in the previous segment of this session, that how we write long vowels with the colon mark. So it is written country are you. Now this is your symbol, you from. Okay, so this is the use. When we know the correct symbol, when we know the correct sound articulation, definitely we will speak it correctly. Now, if you pay attention or put your focus on the second example, I am from. Now, if I say Japan, if the transcription is not written over here, and if we do not know the sound symbols, we won't be able to pronounce it correctly if we do not know it. It is not about the experts or the native speakers who know it in a better manner, because we are not the native speakers. So sometimes we get confused. It is a very natural thing for the non-native speakers of English language, after seeing seeing certain spellings or coming up across certain words, we do not know whether it is g sound, whether it is j sound, if we have to pronounce it sh, if we have to pronounce it j. So how do we mark it? If you see, when you type a word in Google, I think because we are living in the world of internet, a lot of students use for the academic value or for searching certain things or spellings or meanings, we type a word and then we see, nowadays we see that there is speaker button also where you can learn how to pronounce that word. Earlier, only transcription in slash were written over there. Why they were written over there? So that you can understand what is the correct pronunciation. Because as I said time and again, that we are not the native speakers of English. There are a lot of sounds we must not be knowing how to pronounce them or what is the spelling of those words. And if we know the spelling, sometimes we get confused what kind of sound it will be producing. Okay, so but when we know the sound system, we will be in a position, even being non-native speakers, the correct pronunciation. So if you can see the example of Japan word, if this transcription is not written over here, if you can see this symbol dn, this kind of symbol like a z, it is j, and then it is a very, we call it schwa sound, very small a sound is written as schwa, then per sound and a sound. So after seeing the transcription, and when, because I know the symbols, I can very easily say, even if the word is not written here, I can say it is written Japan. Okay, this is a sound, a combination and e, it is not Japan, it is Japan. Okay, so this is the use, this is the way. After studying the sound system, you can improve your pronunciation as the perfect ratio or like the native speaker. So this is the use of phonology and sound system. So yes, it is highly relevant when you study the language. It is especially for the students who apply for the foreign studies, or they want to go abroad, or even in your while you're living in India, we need to understand if we are speaking English, and because English is one of the official languages, it is widely spoken. Our major medium of communication is English nowadays, be it our projects or in our professional life. And if we are studying, see, the basic philosophy lies between if behind it, that if we are speaking a certain language, we must be well aware of the formation, the sound system, the grammatical and the semantic values, the morphology of that language. We need to understand the importance that we have to go stage by stage. So sound system of a language is one of the basic module to attain that perfection and to try to adapt the appropriateness of that language. So yes, thank you for this session. I hope this session will help you out and it will ignite a certain interest in all my learners who are the English enthusiasts. They want to understand English language in a better manner, or if they are trying for certain competitive exams, or if they want to acquire that kind of proficiency, fluency, and correct pronunciation thing, you must definitely be searching for these kinds of sessions. And I hope this session will help you a lot. And in our next session, we will be dealing with the syllable stress and these kinds of other modules related to phonetics and phonology, so that you can elevate your understanding and correct usage of English language, and also the articulation. Like in this session, we have studied the speech organs, what are the basic speech organs of the correct articulation. In the next session, we'll be doing the types of articulation. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and see you all in our next session. Thank you so much.